morning. Thank you so much for making time for us to have this conversation on this 3rd day of October 2023. My name is Sam Gituko. I want to introduce the panelists that are in studio. We have Senator Richard Onyonka from KISII County. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Sammy.
We have Governor Fernandez Baraza from Kakamega County. Good morning.
Good morning to you, madam.
Diana Gishengo from the Institute of Social Accountability. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And Governor Andrew Mwadime Wakuja from Taita Taveta. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Yes, you were telling me an interesting story about the name Wakuja.
Yeah, Wakuja means somebody who is full of love. Actually, the word Wakuja, just the Swahili name is full. Yes. But now this is the meaning of full, and I'm full of love, peace and development. Yani amani, upendo kwa wote na maendeleo kwa wote. That's what.
When did you pick up that brand name? Actually,
that name, it was God brought, because it happened when I was campaigning around 2012 thereabout. And you know, I've got an open policy where everybody comes and go in my house. There's where border sit. There is this soggy guys, and guys who carry luggages at the market. Yes. They're there, mamas are there. So one time, about a group of 7 women, all women, they came into my house. They had their own issues. 2012, it was just about elections.
Yes.
And so when I was solving their problem, another woman came from my gate with 3 children, as if they are not fed for 3 years, for some 3 days, you know. The dresses that woman was putting on were in tatters, really torn. So when she came in, and you know, my gate, everybody comes in. And I was talking to those women as I was solving their problem. When I saw her, I just told my assistant in my house just to let her into my house. And then I told immediately for those children, cook uji, make some tea for them, and make sure you boil water so that they can. And then I told one of the old women among the 7, I told him, look at that woman and see the kind of the dress she's dressing and the size, so that I can give you money, because my place is not very far from the market, to go and buy her clothes.
Yeah.
So in Kitaita, one of the women, the old woman there, you know, in our language, she said, "Ay, abo, umeja amani, upendo, na maendeleo kwa kila mtu." And then now those guys at the border guys and the sogi guys, you know, and even the border guys, the guys Manampa guys, they start shouting there, "Hey, Wakuja, Wakuja, Wakuja."
So that became your brand name.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, karibu sana to the show, Governor Mwadime, and we're here to talk about the state of the counties, what has happened the past 1 year. We've seen the report of the control of budget on some of the issues impacting on implementation of the budgets of 2022-2023. We'll be talking about that shortly. But if you look at the papers this morning, the Daily Nation is talking of travel. Ruto stops party for joyriders. The directive cuts across the public service, including counties, parliament and judiciary. They were used to traveling first class, staying in swanky hotels and getting generous allowances for their shopping. And many, a state officer or civil servant, will often fight to be part of a delegation heading out of the country. And of course, that circular that has been sent by Felix Kuske, the head of public service and chief of staff, has also been copied to the counties, and it is also affecting the governors of county governments. Delegations headed by governors shall not exceed 3 persons, including the governor as head of delegation, that is 1+2, and shall remain guided by the tenets of circular number given as of January 2015, where a county executive committee is to travel to on behalf of a county governor. He or she shall travel alone. That is a CEC member, meaning a waziri at the county level can only travel on their own. Governor Baraza, let me begin with you on how you're taking that circular. First of all, is it in the right place that the chief of staff or the national executive can give instructions affecting counties on how they travel?
First and foremost, I want to agree with the spirit of the circular, because cost management is important in counties. Since the revenues that we receive, they are not adequate enough, so it's incumbent upon the county governments to do cost management by ensuring that the travels are actually efficiently done.
Right.
Especially when the county assemblies, we've seen some misuse in the past. So I see it even as the chair of finance, planning and economic affairs of Council of Governors. I support the cost containment by limiting the travel to 3. I've been traveling myself, and most of the time I even travel alone. I don't travel with a PA, so for me this is not really a shock per se, but a step in the right direction. Okay,
interesting. And I'm also looking at some of the issues affecting the travel costs, and you'll find that the Controller of Budget highlighted some travel. For instance, summary of highest expenditure on foreign travel, which is on, in the report, would show you that there's a county assembly here that traveled to Singapore at a cost of 8.4 billion shillings, traveling to Turkey 7.2 billion shillings, and obviously highlighting the travels to other countries across the world and cities, including Dubai. So for you, Governor Mwadime, what has been your experience when it comes to travel? How much your county officials spend, whether it's at the county assembly or the county executive, and how are you taking this circular by the head of public service?
First and foremost, actually, as what my colleague has said, to some extent I'm supporting that. But you know, when you just say travel, of course, it varies. I know it's expensive traveling outside the country, but also due to some logistical problems, even some counties here within the country, because you know most of the meetings are done in Nairobi and Mombasa and Naivasha. Most of the time, as we don't have even an airstrip, but the number of times we travel from Taita to Nairobi monthly is equivalent maybe to a trip going to Turkey, something like that. So we should also talk about local travel too. Because logistically, in fact, when we are giving out this money, we should also peg and see some of these counties which are unfairly placed. They are not fairly placed, because most of the meeting are here in Nairobi. The governor of Nairobi will just walk with 2-3 podcasts, but you see most of the time I'm traveling all the way over 350 kilometers, and you know I cannot just travel like that. It's also a very big expense for us. Because all the meeting, if it is COG, they're in Nairobi. If it is what, it is Nairobi.
So for yourself to come...
So to me, traveling outside, also I really support that circular, because cost management is good, especially for this country. We are undergoing a difficult transition in terms of money. So I support...
So for you, for instance, to travel to Nairobi, what size of delegation do you require?
You see, it's not only me, because you see, maybe executive for finance, there's a meeting here, they're done in Nairobi. Executive for agriculture, everything is done here. You'll see only in a month, I spend a lot of money. That's why some of us, we are making noise. Some of these meetings, they should be decentralized. Instead of all the time making meetings in Nairobi, and we are feeding Nairobi County. And you know, prior to Constitution, already Nairobi was done, the good roads, hospitals were there. And some of us, you know, we get little money because of the 1 vote, 1 shilling. The population is small, and all the time we are traveling Nairobi. In fact, if you look at the expense alone for 1 month for these small counties like mine, it is really high up. So instead of talking even traveling abroad, just talk for the local travels alone. If those ones can't be avoided, so that these meetings, instead of being done in Nairobi, Mombasa, Naivasha all the time, some of them should be brought to Taita, some of them should go to KISII, some of them should go to Fernandez.
Yes.
But all the time, you see, even the control of budget, I'm sure he's not aware of that. Yeah.
Okay. Senator, as you watch this, the travel cost at the national level was just over 20 billion shillings, and 10.6 billion shillings was spent by the political class. I'm talking about Parliament, the Office of the President, the Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, and the Office of the Deputy President. That's more than 50% of the public sector expenditure going to those offices. So with this circular, how then will it affect the counties, but also Parliament, knowing that actually Parliament is the single most expensive unit when it comes to travel?
Sammy, I want to say that this morning I'm actually very happy. I don't know that you can see my face. I'm glowing. This is the nonsense we need to stop in our country. You know, this thing where we take public money and behave as if it's money that is in our kitties, where we think that you can travel just to go and have coffee in Dubai. for a weekend, and then you come back to Nairobi and then pretend. I mean, Sami, how many meetings have I gone to Dubai for me to go and sit down and just listen to individuals from Esami coming to lecture us how nonsensical it is that instead of Esami, which is established in Tanzania, calling us to go to Dar es Salaam, even an African country, they take us to Dubai. All right? And I'm so happy what my colleagues and my seniors are saying here in terms of, let us begin to understand that we must be prudent. We must begin to understand that there is no free holiday, there is no free cash, so that you are able to carry 6 of your girlfriends or 4 of your girlfriends and carry your relatives, including your uncles and cousins, put them in
happens.
That is so obvious. You've been seeing the stories on paper. You want me to name the names? I can name it here.
I don't think I want.
I mean, why would our government CS carry 4 women with him to a trip to go and attend sports? I mean, what is it? Sam, why are Kenyans like the way we are? The way Mheshimiwa, my governor from Taita Taveta, I can tell you, Sam, today, if you take the National Assembly and look at the 290 members of parliament, maybe 20 have visited Taita Taveta. They don't know what Taita Taveta is. And they're busy saying, oh, we are going to pass laws, we want to change Kenya. How can you change Kenya? You don't know where Kakamega is. You remember, Governor, when we came to meet the president in Kakamega, 3/4 of the MCAs who came from KISII, they had never been to Kakamega. They had never. So what is it that you pick all your MCAs, we pick all the members of parliament, everybody is being told to go to Dubai, guys are going to the US, stay there for 3 weeks, paid 2.6 million shillings, they come back with it, and we have no medicines in our hospitals. We have not paid our teachers, ECD teachers. The amount of money, Governor, we are wasting is close to 42 billion shillings a year on traveling. Why can't we pay our ECD teachers and pay our nurses and community health workers? What is it? You know, this is what is so funny. People look at us out here. We are busy. Taxes are being increased. We are collecting revenue. We are over borrowing. We have surpassed every ceiling that we are supposed to maintain and control. And then we are busy spending public money just traveling the world. And yet we are not traveling in Kenya.
Right.
I mean, I belong to this category. For the first time I went to Turkana. I was shocked that the county of Turkana.
You had been to Turkana?
I'd never been. I only went once during ODM campaigns, and I didn't last 2 hours. So you know, you see nothing. When I went there is when I'm learning Turkana has no drinking water. Right in the middle of town is Tarkwel Gorge. The Tarkwel River is in the middle of town. What Turkana needs is just a system on how they can desalinate their water and help their people. And then we pick this money, we are touring to Dubai, and we can't fix water for the Turkana people. It means we are abnormal.
Just the way my senior member of parliament, Senator Onyonka, is putting on it. In my own county, we have lots of sources of water.
Yeah, right.
But the biggest challenge I'm facing is water. If you go to some parts of my constituencies, there is no water at all. And yet, I have so many sources of water.
Okay.
And you know, this, I don't know, instead of, you know, what the left hand is doing, sometimes even the right hand, we don't know what it's doing.
And Governor, will get to that because now you're the governor. I mean, the citizens in Taita Taveta require answers from you. I'm looking at the figures, at least for Taita Taveta so far. Travel expenditure for the year ended June 2023 was 132 million for domestic and 24.9 million shillings for foreign. In total, that was 157.26 million shillings. Of course, it's not the highest expenditure, but it's interesting to see that you spent 132 million shillings on domestic travel. Yeah. Diana, when you look at this, and this has been an ongoing conversation, last week I had some members of parliament here, and they were saying, even if you complain about the domestic, about travel, it is so small compared to the entire image of 3.6 trillion shillings, which is the total fiscal budget. What would be your say? 20.6 billion shillings at the national level compared to 3.6 trillion shillings. Yes, it may appear not significant, but it's calling for this action by the head of public service. Is it yet another opportunity to declare policies or directions, or it's serious this time?
I don't know whether it is serious. I really hope. Like the governors and the senator here, I welcome the spirit of prudence in our public expenditure, because ultimately our problems are expenditure related. I hear people worried. I travel Kenya. I understand it. So I hope that people can embrace investing in this country. But when you think about it, 26 billion is more than, is how many times your budget, Governor Mwadime?
It's almost almost 8 times.
So it is significant.
It is.
When we reduce that type of travel and get to just purposing, why do you need 5 people? I will travel alone right now to 5 counties. If I need any research, people will share a few findings. You carry your brain, you carry your understanding. You do not need a whole delegation.
Right.
But ultimately, what we need to start investing in is expenditure caps. Expenditure caps across different budget lines in this country. We have had a problem of always wanting to run for debt ceilings, debt anchors, but they are never expenditure ceilings or expenditure anchors. It is time we relooked all this, and we should not only hear about cabinet secretaries and how they travel.
Right.
Part of what needs to happen is a total rethink of what is happening. Yesterday, the Council of Governors complained that water that is supposed to be devolved has just been re-centralized by creation of new funds and new water agencies that will continue to run water in a centralized way. Today, I am just thinking to myself, all devolved services should not have cabinet secretaries at the national level. Instead, let all those be heads of department in the Ministry of Devolution.
Yes.
And that way, all those staff and all that resource goes down to the counties. Because you have allowed, like our constitution, the architecture is the very, very essential services are at the county level. But if you continue retaining resources at the national level, you're setting up counties and local devolution of power and resources to the lowest level. So that is the next level of prudence that we hope to see. I was actually very worried when the National Assembly shot down a proposal by the Senate to be discussing debt issues. Because part of why we do not have resources and why now all of a sudden we have to remember we cannot travel in huge delegation is because of our debt burden and our debt servicing responsibilities.
Right.
Because of those, now counties cannot receive their monies. People will not receive their salaries. Development has been deferred for many decades to come. But we are not ready to have both the Senate and the National Assembly debate. It can't be a national government responsibility anymore. They have been irresponsible enough. It is time to open it up. So it is one step, but it's a drop.
Okay.
We need more.
And the interesting bit, I'm still looking for data for Kakamega, but you can imagine that out of the 132.36 million that I spoke of domestic travel in Taita Taveta,
Yes.
119 million shillings is by the county assembly. And the county executive spent 23.2 million shillings. When it comes to the foreign travel, out of 24.9 million, the county assembly spent 21.5 on foreign travel and 3.39 by the by the county executive. So would you know what they go to do out there as the MCAs of your county?
Actually, I can't tell. I can't tell because, you know, these are separate bodies. So I don't know what they plan in county assembly and what. Me, I'm concentrating on my executive.
Right.
But just to emphasize on what she has just said, that most of this to be devolved, you know, like as I've said, you have seen the local travel is a little bit high.
Yep.
It's just simply because if you're holding money for water, then you have to come to Nairobi to find where will I get the money. All the time you see the CEC for education will come to Nairobi to look for some. Why health is the same thing. And you know, these travels in a month, it's a lot. Okay. But if this money was being sent down to the counties, you know, these movements will be minimized.
Okay.
Even you see the local travel comparable to counties like Nairobi or let's say Mombasa, there's an airport. It's easier, it's cheap for them. But for us, it's really high because we keep on, like even coming where the money is sent to COB. We have to send people to come and COB to look for the money. And already those are expensive.
Is it automated?
It's not automated yet. We have to come to Nairobi. Every day we have to come to Nairobi.
Okay.
And it's a big expense to me.
That's interesting. Governor Baraza, your county has said that the domestic travel was 350 million shillings. The foreign was 8.15 million shillings. I think this has to be one of the lowest in terms of the foreign travel. But domestic is quite significant, 350 million shillings. Again, a huge chunk of it by the county assembly. Do you have the same answer, or what do they travel to do?
Well, I think for the county assemblies, I've actually had a conversation with the speaker because when Kakamega County is mentioned, I take an interest in what is happening in the assembly. One thing I've realized again is these guys have so many meetings. When they have any reports they want to discuss, they have a meeting outside the county. And one thing that I've emphasized, even from my executive, is that we need to have a structure of having meetings with the assembly. You can't just be summoned left, right, and center to come and present reports, come and do induction at the expense of the county. That's one of the cost containment measures. Number two is on the number of days to execute a particular activity. I've made it very clear that when you have reports to be considered, whether departmental reports or even house reports, they need to be done within a specified number of days. If the work to be associated with the report is 3 days, then they don't need to have a week, because one of the cost drivers, again, is the number of days these fellows go out. So if they reduce the number of days, which I've put in place the measures, that goes a long way in addressing the cost of per diems, the famously called DSA. So the local travel is largely assemblies, they have departmental committees, they have specific number of meetings that I think SRC gave them to meet in a month. But because they go beyond and they increase the number of days by not working efficiently. You know, when you work smart, you can deliver an assignment of 3 days or 1 week in 3 days. But if you work very hard, which they do, you find them elongating the period of doing a very simple assignment. But those are the areas which
Sammy, can I help Governor? Let me help Governor. He's really being diplomatic. What Governor is saying is that all of us, including members of parliament, members of the county assemblies, instead of SRC maybe saying that, Sam, let us just allocate a fixed amount of money that an MCA gets in a year and maybe give him. There are these shenanigans, people go for functions, the thing which is supposed to last 3 days, it then goes for 19 days. People are supposed to travel abroad for 4 days, they go and come back after 2 weeks. You know, what Madam Diana is saying, Sam, let us just call a spade a spade. Me, I want to say this. I really appreciate what President Ruto has done on this one. The amount of wastage, the amount of public money that is going to the dogs is just unbelievable. And somebody somewhere and the buck stops with him. And we've been saying here, Sammy, you know, Governor may not say everything because if he goes, they'll start impeaching him. You know, the truth is, those MCAs just want to get the money. They go and travel to wherever. They take the money and come back with it. They do their own thing. Right. But you see, people have to be sensitized now. And we need to tell each other, you cannot travel the world on debt. You can't borrow money and buy tickets to travel the world. If you have saved money and you are rich, Sammy, then you can tour the world. You can take a ship, you go a cruise ship, you travel to Italy, you go to France. But when you are borrowing money, your country is broke. We don't have resources to even pay our doctors and nurses. We have got no drinking water in our hospitals. What is it we are traveling to Dubai to go and do? Shamelessly, we are not even seeing what the people in Dubai are doing.
Okay. And
I think also to just support
sorry, Governor, excuse me, Governor Modiman, I need us to take a short break. But interesting enough, out of the 350.86 million shillings that I mentioned for Kakamega County in travel, it is almost 50-50 because 177.69 million shillings was spent by the county assembly. The county executive spent 173 million shillings on domestic travel. Then for foreign, it was 8.15 million shillings by the county executive. I don't see a figure for the county assembly. So I don't know, maybe also there's a question of containing travel costs within your executive. Actually,
one of the things that you need to appreciate about Kakamega, when we have the 50-50, it means that the assembly, they're the ones who are spending a lot of money because the numbers involved are less. Kakamega is a county that is very huge and very vast. We have 13 sub-counties in Kakamega. That's one thing that you need to understand. We have almost 10,000 employees, right? Of course,
10,000 employees of Kakamega County government?
Yes, boss.
Is that a lot or?
It's a lot. For me, okay, what I'm just trying to say here, the cost driver is on the head count. That's number one. Because when you have many people, definitely the numbers will be high, even for the domestic travel. You can imagine when you recruit people, like the first 6 months, there are a lot of trainings, induction, etc., that happen. But by and large, what I've done is I'm being efficient.
Okay.
Anytime there's a request, I've taken personal initiative, at least to be giving those policy guidelines. And from my CECs, of course, I'm the one who approves.
Okay.
On the number of days, and it's not obvious that every meeting, when you get a notification, let's say from COG, you must attend. We look at, is it merited? So that not any meeting, or somebody just goes to the newspapers, gets a training, then they apply.
Okay.
That is something that we have tried now to institutionalize, so that there's some bit of discipline.
Okay, all right. I want us to take a short break here. When we come back, we continue the conversation, including the details of the Control of Budget report, and obviously where we're headed as a country, knowing that on the 20th of October, which is this month on Mashujaa Day, President William Ruto hopes to unveil the Community Health Promoters Program. We'll talk about that later on. Stay tuned.